And we are here in our last segment of today's Cityline, and I am so happy that a bus pulled up out front and Kwabi Amoah-Forson came off of it, and he's here to tell us today about the Peace Bus. And before we even start, we've all seen the Peace Bus in the community, Kwabi, and I have to ask you, what inspired you to take this journey and make that Peace Bus happen?
That's a magnificent question. But first I want to say, Chris, thanks for having me on the show. Cityline is absolutely phenomenal. Just showcasing people in the community doing local great stuff. So thank you for having me. And the Peace Bus. Yes, the Peace Bus is something that I believe to be an instrument that I can use to promote the most important thing in the entire world, Chris. And guess what that is?
I'm going to take a gander that it's peace.
It is peace. It is peace. And so whatever I can to show peace, whether that's delivering goods and services to people in need or speaking on what peace really means, that's what I do.
Now, peace is such a founding thing, and you are the recipient of the Tacoma Peace Prize.
Yes.
Which means that you just had a trip to Norway to attend the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony.
Right.
I am excited to hear about this trip to Norway and the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony.
Right. So I'm the youngest person to ever receive the Tacoma Peace Prize. Thank God for Tom Heavey. He was the one who created the Tacoma Peace Prize Association. And because of him, as well as Teresa Hunt, who nominated me to win the award, I was sent all the way from Tacoma to Oslo, Norway, to attend the Nobel Peace Prize. And Chris, it was absolutely fantastic. I got to sit alongside the King of Norway and see all the amazing individuals win and receive the Peace Prize. Ales Bialysky was a Belarusian freedom fighter, and he was the one who won the award. He's actually currently in prison. He's currently in prison right now, so his wife was the one to receive the award. I got to hear what she had to say about what peaceful progress looks like for our world. It was very inspiring. I'll never forget it. And after the award, I got to meet with a lot of different constituents. I got to meet with what's his name? Bondevik, the old Prime Minister of Norway.
Wow.
Yes, and I got to tell him about the Peace Bus and what I'm doing here in Tacoma. It was great. It was fantastic. But I not only went to Norway, Chris. I went to Norway, then I went to Sweden, and then I went to Amsterdam, and then I went to Ireland, and then I took a trip to New York City where I gave a speech about the Nobel Peace Prize and all the things that I learned, and it was absolutely brilliant. Now I'm back home.
Wow. Well, the first thing I'm going to say is we are so lucky to have an ambassador like you who's out there, number one, well-deservedly being recognized for their work and activism in peace, but also representing Tacoma, letting people know we have such a great community, and you're out there being that megaphone for it.
Right.
So,
anywhere you go, Chris, you represent where you're from, and you have the ability to be an ambassador, right? So when people go to different areas, maybe they are thinking about going to the beach or trying a delectable meal, which is they should, but you have the opportunity to connect with an individual that's unlike yourself, and that's peace. Opening that communication with someone who's unlike yourself to have that connection. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
well, and that's something is, he's communicating and letting people know things. You're creating a talk show to pitch to PBS?
Yes,
Did I hear that correctly? Tell me more about that.
Yes, it's called the Peace Bus the last 2 years, and I'm getting together celebrities, influencers, and leaders to come together to have the most important conversations about inhibitors of peace, right? So we had our pilot episode shooting in November. And in November, I got a group of celebrities together, and we talked about racism and race and how we can come together in respect to our differences, not in spite of our differences. Because we're all different. How can we learn to respect each other and move together progressively? That was the concept. And so I'm working with the Washington State History Museum. We're partnering with them, and we're going to be filming multiple episodes throughout the year focusing on homelessness and gun violence and environmental sustainability, these very important subjects, and hopefully create some solidarity and some peace out of it.
That's great. And I mean, playing on the background as we've been talking are some of those great things happening that you've been a part of.
Yes, yes.
But now, you've got something else going on, the Every Kid Eats campaign, which has helped to feed children experiencing food insecurity, and it was a hit this summer. What's your next humanitarian campaign?
Right, with the Every Kid Eats campaign especially, it was absolutely brilliant, right? We had local restaurants every day of the week, any day of the week. Any child in Tacoma could go to a restaurant and eat for free. Eat for free. And consequently, over 1,500 kids in Tacoma were fed this summer. Right.
That's, wow.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly, man. And it's interesting how it just took about 7 or 8 restaurants to get involved and how many kids we fed. And now, next year, next summer, I'm hoping to extend this same notion of feeding our children not only to Tacoma, but to Seattle as well, to try to double the impact. It's very important as far as promoting peace that we looked at hunger as a major hindrance. How can we expect our children to be their best selves if they're thinking about where their next meal is coming from? So it was brilliant. And what's next for the Peace Bus? I want to do a drum roll, Chris.
okay, we'll do a little drum roll.
Next for the Peace Bus is Equipped to Learn. Equipped to Learn. I'm going to be linking up with high schools in Tacoma as well as Seattle in order to deliver brand new laptops to students in need that are going to be going to places of higher education next year. Because how can we expect the next generation to reach their highest potential if they don't have the tools to do so? So giving a child, or giving a student rather, a young adult, the tools they need to succeed is instrumental to peace.
Wow. You have so much going on.
Yeah, man.
Now, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is coming up, and I know that he's a major influence in all that you do. What does that legacy that he set forth mean for you?
Right, right. The last campaign of Martin Luther King before he was assassinated was the Poor People's Campaign, right? Some people don't know about this. And if you don't know, folks at home, listen in. This is really important. So the Poor People's Campaign was a campaign that believed in every individual having a livable wage, having a house, right? And so that they could pursue a life of liberty and pursuit of happiness, right? Because how can you do so if you don't have an income that's livable, right? And I believe that's the next stage, addressing poverty in all scopes, in all races, right? And I believe that's my job, sort of like picking up this torch of the Poor People's Campaign and moving it forward. If we can live in a world where most people, if not all people, have a means towards cultivating their potentiality, I believe that we can be better off and create a more peaceful society.
I don't think anybody would argue with you on that.
I don't think so, Chris. You can, you know. Peace is progress.
You are an inspiration to everybody, and you have so many things happening. Now, if I look up in the sky, it's not a bird, it's a plane. Tell me, the peace plane?
Yes, the peace plane, Chris.
Bobby!
I will be in the sky by 2025 to fly the greatest flight in the history of humankind. It will be a flight for justice, a flight for peace, a flight for humanity. Yes, indeed. Oh, you already know I have the Peace Bus. The Peace Plane will be an avenue to bring people together, to see in the sky that there's an airplane, right? Airplanes have been used to transport bombs. They've been used to transport people. They've been used to transport all sorts of things. But how can we use this vehicle in order to transport the most important thing, and that is peace? So I hope just for it to be a symbolic gesture of how we can come together, but also to raise awareness of the major inhibitors of peace being poverty, racism, and lack of quality education for our children. I don't see how there's any way how we can come together if in the same town you can have one child going to one school and one child going to another school and having different levels of education. We need quality education for all kids because we don't know where the next invention or innovation is coming from.
And apparently, it's going to be coming through you, letting us know more about it. Now, I've got some late-breaking news from the University of Puget Sound.
Wow.
In addition to your Tacoma Peace Prize, I understand that yesterday you found out you were the recipient of yet another wonderful recognition of the work that you do for all of us here in our community. Tell me about University of Puget Sound's award that you're receiving.
Right. The University of Puget Sound has blessed me with Keep Living the Dream Award. Right. This is an award given annually to someone who exemplifies the work of Martin Luther King Jr. and is moving the torch forward. And I'm extremely humbled to receive this award. I will be receiving my plaque this Tuesday at 6:30 at the University of Puget Sound. If anyone's out there wanting to come see me receive the award, I'll be giving a short speech talking about how impactful and how amazing this is, and hope to use this platform to raise awareness of the things that really matter, like poverty and hunger and things like this. So I'm looking forward to it, and it's just another blessing.
That's wonderful. Now, Kwabi, you do so much for everybody in this community. How can we in the community help you to do the great work that you do?
That's a great question. So first and foremost, I say this every time, Chris, I say this every time. The biggest thing is to reach out to me and have a conversation about peace, right? It's the most important thing. So I'm always willing to have the conversation, learning about what peace means to individuals, so I can, have more education on the concept. You can never know enough, right? Always want to be open to learning. So that would be the best way. Another way is to help me financially with my efforts. You can do so by going to thepeacebus.org, or you can reach out to the GoFundMe that is on my Instagram page at The Peace Bus. It's the best way to get involved. Beyond having a conversation about peace, think about what your skills are as an individual. Not everyone's supposed to get in a baby blue van and drive around and spread peace that way. What are your skills, and how can you utilize that for the most important thing, which is peace? I believe that's how we can create a more peaceful world, and that's how we can come together.
That's wonderful. As we narrow out, our time's gone like that,
That's right.
because you've got so much going on. Is there anything that you would like to say or to thank? Anybody you'd like to thank?
Yes. Folks at home, if you're listening in on this, I want to tell you that never in the history of humankind has one person been upset at another for listening to them. Never in the history of humankind. So that being the case, you can always listen in order to cultivate understanding. They won't be mad at you.
That's great. Kwabi, you are an inspiration to everybody. I know I've had the great fortune to hear you speak before, and to be able to sit in the comfy chair against the comfy couch with you today has been a great time, and I'm sure that our viewers have enjoyed every single moment that you've brought to them today. That about wraps it up for another episode of Cityline, everybody. I can't thank you enough for being here today. Kwabi, thank you for being here and telling us all about the Peace Bus. We've enjoyed it thoroughly. And we want to thank the Tacoma Pierce County Affordable Housing Consortium and Amanda for being here, finding out about the Tacoma Mall area with Rebecca and Lowell, and then, of course, the Vision Zero action plan that's going to make a huge difference in our community from Carrie and Matt. Thank you for joining us on Cityline, everybody. We will see you next week with some other great things happening in our community. Take care.
That's my home. You're from the east end. You're from Green Bay. You're from Atlanta, but Tacoma's where you'll stay. You're from the east end. You're from Green Bay. You're from Atlanta, but Tacoma's where you'll stay. Yeah, Tacoma, that's my home. From the pines to the dawn. Tacoma, that's my home, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home. Tacoma, that's my home. Place I call my own. Tacoma, that's my home, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home. Alright, you're from the East Coast. Alright, you're from the West. Alright, you're from the middle, but Tacoma's still the best. Alright, you're from the East Coast. Alright, you're from the West. Alright, you're from the middle, but Tacoma's still the best. Hey, Tacoma, that's my home. From the pines to the dawn. Tacoma, that's my home. Yeah, Tacoma, that's my home. Tacoma, that's my home. Place I call my own. Tacoma, that's my home. Yeah, Tacoma, that's my home. Tacoma, that's my home. From the fire